2025. Don't miss out. And what am I saying that you can do? You can start your journey and make your dream a reality. You can gain globally recognized skills. You can access an extensive network of global universities and receive expert mentorship and career guidance. All of those things. So you can, on this ALX platform, you can talk to folks who are going to say, well, this is what you want to study, this is the university to go to. There's an extensive network of global universities. Which continent do you want to go to study? Where do you want to? You can receive the best advice and you can get the greatest career guidelines. All you need to do is get onto that site that I talked to you about. It's bit.ly/ALX pathway SFM. Explore global university networks on the ALX pathways. Remember, it's the 21st of April. That's the deadline. You don't want to miss out on that with ALX pathways. And so, CT, you can fly around the world and you can gain points. You can go shopping and you can gain points. You can do all sorts of things and gain money and earn.
You will be amazed at the things you can do and earn points. You'll actually be amazed. But the amazement needn't be something that is far-fetched. If I were to tell you that by simply applying to the I&M Global card, that beyond just being able to fly, you'll be shown how. The how is very simple.
How to fly?
Every time,
I'm joking.
To enjoy flying.
Okay. Yeah.
How to fly, that's tricky. There were two guys, Detless and Icarus, who tried it. Didn't work very well.
It didn't work very well.
Didn't work very well for them. If you apply for the card and you use it as you do already have, the thing that differs here is you gain points. And the points that you gain, when they're sufficient, they enable you to fly, as we call it, to buy a ticket. But that's not all they do. You can pay for fuel, you can do your shopping. So as you're shopping, you are actually benefiting. Now comes a clincher. Every 20th customer will get 50,000 Milele points. That's what the points are called. And the 50,000 Milele points are the equivalent of 50,000 Kenyan shillings.
Love it.
So, please, well, take the step and apply.
Take the step and apply and get onto the app and do so today. Sawa. Okay. So we're getting to a conversation this morning and our guest is seated. We've been hearing a number of things over the last couple of months. Lies, liars, the thing that you're telling us is not true, etc., etc. We're having a conversation today around the psychology of public deception and why some leaders just can't stop lying. Psychologist and founder of Serene Minds Wellness is Arthur Gishuru, and he's in the hot seat of the Situation Room again this morning. Arthur, good morning.
Good morning to you. How are you?
Very well, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm doing well.
Karibu sana.
Asante.
You're going to hear a proverb from CT, and you will then help us interpret that according to what your thinking is, and then we get into the conversation. Is that all right?
I hope you'll draw a good one.
Well said. I was waiting for you to say a difficult one. And I was going to say there's nothing like a difficult proverb. Maybe you haven't heard it before, but it is good if you haven't, because then you learn a new proverb. If you live by the river, you should make friends with the crocodile.
If you live by
the river,
you should make friends
with the crocodile.
With the crocodiles. Wow, a good one. That means you should be able to know your enemies, and you should be able to know how to navigate, how to live together harmoniously.
You put it very well.
Very well indeed.
It's painless.
You have proven for yourself that it is painless. Well done.
Thank you.
Well done.
Yes.
So we are getting into this conversation this morning, and I think sometimes it's important for us to look at the reasons, behind why folks do the things that they do. We've heard many a Kenyan, many a politician, even many people over the last couple of months say that the things that we have been told, by virtue of the fact that they have not happened, were lies. And that we hear people standing atop, as they've been standing atop vehicles and doing the normal politicking of the day, saying things that are lies because they've not been done. Or that we hear that things that should have been done, you said that you were going to do them, and within a certain period of time you said you were going to do them, you did not do them, so they were lies. And because of that habitual nature, experientially, that we see things have not been done in the way in which they said that they were going to do, our human nature then, that the next thing that comes out of your mouth will be called a lie. That because we have seen certain things happen in a certain manner over time, our minds just kind of click into that kind of thing. You being the psychological expert here, we then will say that everything else that comes out of your mouth, whether or not it is, will be deemed by us to be a lie. So today we're looking at the psychology behind it all, and the psychology of public deception. And we want to get some definitions, first of all, to even understand. When we talk about we talk about the psychology of public deception, can we really, I want to make up a new word today, scientify it? Or is it just somebody telling a lie?
Okay, that's a good one. Well, we should know, first of all, that lying is a universal human phenomenon, that human beings do lie. And when we say that is a universal human phenomenon, we say that we lie according to the theory of self-preservation. We lie to preserve a self-image. We lie because there is something that we want to, I want to make sure that I have avoided some criticism or probably punishment.
Mm-hmm.
And when we say that it is a universal human phenomenon, we don't mean that people should lie chronically. We're saying that people should lie, there is something we call the white lies.
Mm-hmm.
When we talk about the white lies, just simply the lies that I'm coming, but simply you're seated here in the office. Give me a minute, but you simply know that you're not giving someone a minute. You'll reply to their message or to their call after an hour. That is what we call white lies. But now we have what we call chronic lying. Let me use a term, pseudological fantastica. That is chronic lying that now you're saying, the one that you're saying, you have lied to a point whereby even tomorrow, when you take the mic, people will know that definitely there is a lie that is coming from you. And now you now get to a point whereby now you're using lies to manipulate people. Sometimes people lie without even the need to lie. There was no point of you lying. You're not even self-preserving anything.
There's no situation that could get you in an issue.
Exactly. But you have just gotten to a point whereby you lie and lie and lie to a point of now it has become I'll not say kind of personality, but you have now the tendency. It is personality traits, personality tendencies of lying. So it's kind of a DNA creeping into you that you're gonna lie and you're gonna lie tomorrow and over time. But why do people and especially leaders lie? We say that the more a power a human being has, the more likely they are to lie.
Power over what though? Or power of what?
Power of anything. And especially leadership power.
Mm-hmm.
And when you talk about leadership power, now when you look at the public powers, the public leaders, they're going to lie more probably because of the environment, the expectation, because of self-preservation of the image and the control that they have. If you lie, you get the control, the fallacy of control. So they believe that if I lie, if I continue lying, then I preserve a certain kind of an image and I'll get to control people. And that is why most of them will actually repeat a particular lie over time. Because they believe that if I repeat a lie many times, people will buy it as truth.
But is that a lie, really? Is it false to say that if you repeat something often enough, people will actually believe it? Is that statement entirely false?
If you repeat
something, even if let's call it a lie. If you repeat a lie enough times,
yes,
people will believe that it is true. Is that statement entirely false?
Is not false. Is a belief that they have. People will kind of buy it as the truth, but in the real sense, it's not the truth.
Then would you then say that to someone who believes it is true, to that person, is it then not true?
To someone who believes that is true.
That lie is true. To them, is it then not true? And if it is not true, and the essence of what is said is not true, then what is it that would confound that truth and convince this particular person that what they believed was actually not true?
For example, if I stood atop a vehicle today, for all intents and purposes, I want to build a road from Mombasa to Makweni. I have said it. To me, it is true. It is my truth. And in that moment, everything that I'm going to do is towards making that road be.
Yeah.
How do you say that what I'm saying is a lie? Perhaps this is my intent. This is what I plan to do. And as I sit here in this, like you said, it comes from a lot of people who are in positions of leadership. And if I say that this is what I want to do at that moment, could it not be that that is my truth? I don't think I'm lying. I have all intent to do it. I even have the resources at some point to be able to do it. When does it then become a lie? When it doesn't happen?
Exactly. The thing about lying is that we will have a lot of inconsistency.
Okay.
So you'll be known that you're lying when there is something that you have said probably yesterday, the other day, but there is nothing that is coming forth. So these are false promises.
Okay. So then can a lie, or then can the truth become a lie? Please understand what I'm saying. Just as the example CT is giving here, at that point, to me it is true. What I have said is true. CT, I owe you 1,000 shillings. I am going to pay you. I'm not lying. I am telling you the truth.
You intend to.
I intend to. That is my intent. I am a member of parliament. I am the president. I have said I am going to build a road. I am not lying. This is my intent. I want to do it. Can this truth become a lie? Or are we saying in the event that this thing that I am telling you in truth does not happen, then it morphs into a lie? But I'm not lying at the point at which I say it. I have all intent to do it. At that point, it's not a lie. It's like the caterpillar. That caterpillar becomes something else. Can it become something else without in my intention of it being?
Actually, now when you look at the term deception, it is the intentional. You are intending to actually manipulate, to actually lie. Like you have said, I'll tell you that I'm gonna pay you your 1,000. For me, I know I owe you 1,000, and I know I should pay you. But I'm telling you that I will pay you. That is what I'm supposed to do. But now here, I am intentionally telling you that I will pay you, but I'll not pay you. So in the first place, I'm manipulating.
So you're suggesting that even as they say it, they have no intentions of doing it.
Yes.
They're saying it for the sake of doing it.
They are saying for the sake of doing it, and now they will intentionally use other manipulative tactics.
Okay.
Yes.
If you say that I'm saying it for the sake of doing it, how do you measure that what I'm saying is just for the sake of saying it and that I don't mean it? Is there a way in which you can figure it out?
Probably with time.
Time.
Yes.
Now, with the time,
Yes.
it's an interesting concept, comes other intervening variables. What if the promise was made at a time when it appeared like it were possible, and then mitigating some circumstances rear their heads, and I'm not able to?
But I had intent to.
I may even have begun the process, but I didn't do it.
Am I lying?
You began the.
I began the process. I'll give a live example. That money that you owe me.
Yes.
You tell me you're going to pay it to me because you expect someone to pay you. The person doesn't pay you. Now, are you a liar?
If I had the intention of paying you, and I
Yes.
had begun even the plans of paying you,
Yes.
let's say probably I actually even paid a down payment of 300 or 400,
Yes.
right? Then I was making steps, right? Then it got to a point whereby maybe I don't even have the money. I don't even have the resources to even, give you the money. And I come to you and I tell you the truth that this is the representation of the situation of how things are, and I cannot be able to pay you. Then at that moment, you're not lying. You're just telling the truth.
Okay.
Because you can be able to, table the facts.
Okay.
But now when you're lying, you come to me And now you tell me that you cannot pay me simply because that you don't have a job or you don't have the resources or the means to pay me. But ideally, you have a job and you're actually getting the money.
Okay.
What we have seen probably in the country or probably even in the world is whereby people will come to the public and tell you the economy is now new and everything, right? But then when you look at the representation, when you go to the ground, things are different.
Okay.
When you tell people why things are not, we are not making the roads, people will say that we're not making the roads because there is no money. But the other day you told us that there was money. So that was an intentional line. You're deceiving, you're deceiving people and you're manipulating them, or you're using the manipulative tactics to just deliver what you want.
And if you were to come to them in the future, the likelihood of them believing anything that you said thereafter is, very low. Is it possible for you to say something in truth, but to somebody else, they receive it as a lie? And I'll give examples of this. And I think that at some point where we ask ourselves, what are we talking about here? And we can just be bold enough to say it here. That a lot of people have ascribed the capacity to lie to a lot of the promises that the president made and things that he says then in the future. And we give examples of that. We knew that gas would be almost zero rated because he said it would. He said that there would be diapers for children coming out of hospital at birth, and that there would be care for mothers, maternal births. He said that certain roads would be completed by said time. He said that certain stadia, even before he was president, would be completed in 6 months, 12 months, 9 months. We have pictures, we have evidence that those things had not been completed until today. He said that there would be 50% of gender equality in his selections. That still has not happened. Those are things that have not happened. Those are things that he said would be done. They have not been done. Were they lies?
No, lies have also forms, and one of the forms is exaggeration. When you talk about exaggeration, you're talking about you're telling someone a fact, not a fact. You're telling someone something that looks achievable, but ideally you exaggerate. So when you tell people that you'll have a machine that will generate probably 1 million barrels within a minute, probably it's doable. Maybe we'll have such kind of a machine, but is it there today? Maybe you exaggerate. So when you talk about the things that probably have ever been promised by leaders before, it looks achievable, but at the end of the day, probably it was an exaggeration.
Okay. Let me look at promises that have been made and promises that have been made during the process of campaigning. I am using a political example because usually political examples are out in the open and very many people can determine what it is that they're hearing. And in the event of them not being fulfilled, many more people can arrive at a conclusion. What is it that constitutes political promises? And are political promises doable? Because if you're talking about politicians, that's what they are. They are promises. Are they doable? Pick one promise that was made, which in your mind may not be doable.
Probably we'll go with the machine.
For making chapati.
I can tell you that when the president was campaigning before, and he said, should he become president, that there was going to be 100 million shilling fund for commercial sex workers. For business. He did say this.
He did?
Yes.
Was that fund set up?
No. Or another one. He said that every woman who gave birth was going to receive 3 months worth of diapers for her newborn baby, on the bill of the state.
Right. Has that happened?
It has not happened.
Okay. Are we therefore saying that political promises must always be taken seriously? When someone, yes, I've started with, I'm labeling it deliberately, political promises. We hear them when people are campaigning.
or we hear them when people feel that they've lost a little bit of, gravitas, they've lost some ground, and they feel that, okay, if I can come and make a promise, or I can say that something is going to happen, then likelihood of people then accepting me back. But why do we see this mostly then amongst politicians?
The then competitor who was seeking the presidency also promised that people who are below a certain poverty level would receive 6,000
shillings per month.
Yes. A universal care package that will enable them to survive. Why 6,000? Because that is what the Kenya Bureau of Statistics has indicated would be the most minimum amount
people can survive on.
You can survive on if you live in an urban area.
Yeah. We'll go back to the self-preservation theory. Now, for a normal human being without power, it's self-preservation. You're lying to just preserve, your dignity, to avoid punishment and what have you. But when it comes to leaders, now it is power preservation. So I'm lying because I want to preserve my own power. Like you have said, do very well, that, we will see it during campaigns. You will see it when when a certain politician realizes that they have lost track with the ground. They have lost control with their own, people and what have you. So they will come to the ground and they will actually promise many things, knowing very well that they are not in a position to do this. But why does it happen? It happens also because the environment allows. There is a theory of behavior enforcement. For example, if today you do something and you are not punished for it, tomorrow you're more likely to do it and do it over again, because there was that reinforcement that was done the other day. So us as the public, we have actually created an enabling environment for these particular readers to come.
How are we
How?
By accepting
what?
Them to come.
Accepting the lies.
How do you accept it? If somebody comes and says to you, and I'm sorry, I'm just going to jump on this because it's one of the things that's front and center right now. If somebody comes and says to you that based on things that we've been working on over the last few months, we are going to create a system so watertight that you'll walk into hospital by virtue of your contributions, you walk to any medical facility, you will be treated, you will not be asked to pay. There are certain procedures for which you have already contributed, and because of that, you will then be able to walk into hospital. You may be operated on, you may sleep a couple of nights in hospital, it'll pay for you. You don't have to, you will walk out without having spent a dime, right? And then at the stage whereby there may be some kind of chronic or critical illness, we're going to take care of that as the state, and you don't have to worry about that at all. In the event that should you not believe it when somebody says something like that? And then the event that it does not happen, and I ask the question again, in the event that doesn't happen, has the state lied to you? When they've said that, you will walk into hospital today and the Social Health Authority will ensure beyond reasonable doubt, beyond any doubt, that you will be treated and you will not have to spend a penny more. And that does not happen. And if it happens for a few, doesn't happen for everybody. Was it a lie?
It was manipulation. I think one of the responsibilities that we have as the public is to always counter-check. Always go back to the facts. And that is why the media is very, very important when it comes to investigative media, to give in facts, to educating the public. For us as the public, we really need to go back and look at the things, the reality of the things. For example, when you talk about a system of health that will come and you will not pay even a penny, we have to ask ourselves, has it ever happened before? Have we ever been there at a point whereby maybe the NHIF was there? Were we paying something? Yes, we were paying something. Was it fully working to a point whereby if I go to the hospital for a checkup of a particular kind of a disease, will I pay? It used to pay to a certain extent, but now comes we are brought to a point of now trying manipulating us to believe that a new system will actually fully work without even us paying even a single shilling. Okay. Then, us as the public, we should ask questions. We should make sure that we are bringing these particular readers to a tell me the truth. Let us debate this. Let us look where are the facts and what have you. So if we believe it at the face value, then we are giving them the environment for them to come and lie tomorrow and over again.
If you consider the promises that are made, and they are usually many by politicians, and then you look at the implementation of one of those promises, like Shah, you realize that what was actually said or meant was that there is a certain cadre of citizens who will not have to pay a cent. So it's not blanket. There's a cadre that would pay. There's a cadre for whom the government would pay 1 and 3. That is the reality. The promise was it will be
Free.
So, is the public simply trusting or are they gullible? Because the word manipulation has been used several times. So, are we just a bunch of
Gullible, fickle-minded
individuals? Or are we people who are trusting, and if indeed the promises are not true, then it says we are people whose trust has been abused repeatedly?
We have been gaslighted, I'll say that.
What is gaslighting?
Gaslighting is whereby you change, you manipulate someone to a point of now they cannot believe what is true. They doubt themselves. So you doubt, you're put at a point whereby you know the truth, but at the same time, you are actually doubting yourself. So the public has been gaslighted to a point of they know this is the truth, but they don't know whether
to believe it or not.
So
and that is the power of manipulation.
You're painting a very, very negative picture of the public, that they cannot think, they cannot stand up to what is true, and then they need someone to tell them what is true. Really?
They can. They can. And they have always shown that ability.
Okay.
The public has always been out there trying to make to make efforts of trying to come out and, confronting the politicians. But at the same time, there is a lot of manipulation, there is a lot of gaslighting. But what happens when it comes to now people who deceive the public, or the people or leaders who deceive the public, is that they also use a lot of resources. Lying, you must have money. You must have resources. And even if you don't have the resources, for you to actually come up with a lie and maintain it as a lie, your mind will actually use a lot of energy. Number one, that is the resource of energy. Number two is the resource of the money. So lying also comes with the aspect of the resources, the material resources, whereby you'll go to the public, you'll control this and this and this, probably even controlling the media houses. At the moment, what we are seeing is a lot of emotion, using a lot of emotional tactics, whereby if I tell you, City, that, well, if you love your country, you should not be speaking anything like you should not be telling leaders that they are lying.
Right.
You get my point. So you are emotionally gaslighted to a point of, I love my country,
but should I actually speak out?
But should I speak out?
What I see to be
You are
true.
reinforcing the idea that we are gullible.
Okay, let's take a break on that point and come back about this gullibility issue, because I think it's one thing that we ought to look at. Arthur Gishuru is the psychologist and founder of Sereni Minds, and we're looking at this issue of the psychology of public deception, and asking why some leaders just can't stop lying. And we'll come back and look at more details of this when we come back.
Keep. Or is it something that you make as you look for
to hold?
Yes, exactly.
To
manage the situation as you try to fulfill the promise you have made.
When you lie to just probably control the situation, like for example, a parent will tell you that we are still in control, things are gonna be well. Well, they know that very well that they don't even have the money to take you back to school. That is altruistic lying, whereby you lie to control the situation, which is allowed when it comes to it's laughing. It's allowed when it comes to a situation whereby you actually have to control the panic. For example, as a doctor, doctors will use it in terms of they're not lying, but they're just controlling. They're just manipulating the information to just maybe lower the fact the way they are. Maybe today, some person A is diagnosed with cancer, stage 4. They will actually tell you that yes, you have this particular illness or this particular condition, okay? Maybe there is nothing that they can do, but they will try and show you how much they can be able to do to help you. But ideally, they know that very well that probably this particular cancer, the way it is actually going to put you down in a couple of months or in a couple of years.
But they're telling you the truth, though. And this is the thing and this is one thing that we always ask for, that whether it is a doctor with a patient in hospital, or whether it is the president of a nation talking to 55 million different people, that we are saying that the truth as it is, for me, just looks like a better way to handle things. Albeit painful in the beginning, you're going to adapt. It's like the fellow who lives next to the river, who's going to be aware that there's a crocodile that lives there and you must make friends with it. This is the thing for me, that why do we resort to making things look better than they actually are? Because we think that in the interim, it's going to make you like me a little bit more, or that it'll make the position a little bit better, as opposed to saying, hey guys, we are in the muck of it. Things do not look good. You do have stage 4 cancer. I can make you a little bit comfortable with the medicine that I'm going to give you, but I can tell you the truth, so that you can do what? Put your affairs in order. Why is it so difficult then at the position of leadership for people, especially in nations where things are going haywire? It seems psychological to me as well. Why can't we just have a situation where people are just telling you, look, this is the way it is? Yes, we may have plundered your resources to within an inch of their existence, but here we are trying to claw back on those issues. So from a psychological point of view, why is it so difficult for us to be able to say it as it is?
Like you have put it, they will start very well as a human being. But now when you constantly do it, you now get to what we call the dark triad. With the dark triad comes the personality traits that are quite harmful. And this is whereby we have narcissism, this is whereby we have Machiavellism, and this is where we have what we call the psychopathy. So Machiavellism is whereby the leaders now use lying, deceive, with an intention of gaining something. And that is why even, it's quite hard. Like Muga is telling us today, will we believe that this is a promise that is achievable, or we will just treat it as a lie, basically because it's coming from a leader or from a politician? Okay? Because we know that when they are campaigning, they are kind of coming to quote us. We can either buy in their concept or not.
Yeah.
But
so,
yes.
Yeah. Which theory is this one you were giving us now?
Sorry?
This particular one. You said Machiavellism, you said psychophancy?
The dark triad.
The dark triad of 3 is which?
Yes, the dark triad of the dark psychology.
Okay.
Because when you lie too much, then we are now talking about using the dark psychology.
Okay.
You're trying to manipulate us, but you're trying to manipulate us in a very bad way.
I understand, but now there are 3. The triad means 3. So you said there's Machiavellism.
There is narcissism, and there is also psychopathy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. How do you know who is doing what of these 3? When is somebody practicing Machiavellism in the part of lying?
Machiavellism is whereby now you lie with an intention of preserving something, and especially preserving the power
or your
and
position.
the control or the position.
Okay.
Yeah. Narcissism is all about an idea of a self-importance, but now we all have the need for self-importance, but now it goes beyond to some people, and now it becomes grandiose. You want to be felt. You want to feel like you're a small god, and you cannot listen to anyone. Then now there is the psychopathy, whereby people just lie just to lie with an intention of harming the other person without that empathy. They know that they are lying. They know that they are harming other people, but for them, it doesn't. They don't care. Yeah.
If we begin this discussion again at the very fundamentals of human beings and how they relate to each other, the things that constitute a lie and what we've accepted as lies becomes probably the subject of our discussion. Because when it becomes a problem is we're talking about an extremity. So it begs the question, is it possible for there to be a situation where one does not lie? And is the lie an aspect of the person to whom the lie is being directed, or does it point more towards the person who is lying? And I remember, given that we live in an ecosystem that influences us to some degree, whether it is within the family setup or whether it is within the larger community where there are influences, and then you have your own personalities, things which you're born with. That's just you.
True.
Okay. Now, at what point do we even learn to lie? Because children, when they're children, don't lie.
True.
They actually don't lie. So the process of learning now, that's where now they're influenced by the environment,
Yeah.
the family, and so forth. It's a learned behavior. That lie then morphs, and as you said, worst case scenario becomes a way of life, and that's how somebody goes about conducting their relationships with other people. That's why the three categories you mentioned come in, okay?
Yeah.
But who then doesn't lie?
Who then doesn't lie?
Yes.
And
who?
you have given a very good example of a child. Kids will grow up imitating the adults. So if the environment doesn't, if the environment teaches them that, yeah, you should always stand for the truth, they will always do that. But then comes the issue of reinforcement. And we say that people lie to survive, self-preservation. So if this particular child end up actually breaking a vase, and they know very well that the parent, the way they will actually, they will actually punish them in a very bad way, they can probably lie to just avoid that particular punishment. So it is how the environment is treating them that will make them understand, that will make them behave in a particular manner. So lying, the concept of, the chronic lying will narrow down now back to you. How do you feel when you lie? Even when you're having these white lies, does it make you feel bad? Does it make you feel like, oh, by the way, I didn't pay that particular person, and therefore I didn't need to go back and pay the debt? So if at all internally, your internal space doesn't put you at a point of you're now not becoming a good human. You're now not learning to live with the crocodiles, if I may put it like that. Next day, go and actually apologize to this particular person. If it doesn't put you there, then it will actually make you lie and lie and lie and lie even tomorrow.
If we can draw parallels, a child who worked on a blank canvas and then learns to lie, because it is learned behavior, has also understood the psychology of the folks that he or she is lying to. And that is their parents usually, right? In that small circle at that age. They've understood the psychology. Now, if you want to draw parallels between that child who's telling this lie, who's understood the psychology of the person he or she is lying to, and a politician, for example, I dare say that they have not understood the psychology of the people that they are lying to. If we want to take Kenyans as an example today, Kenyans just want to be told the truth. I don't think that they want something different. Kenyans want to be told the truth of the situation as it is. Allow them to make the decision based on what you have told them. But you see, in this case, I also don't know if Kenyans are making decisions based on things that you're telling them. Are Kenyans going to make a decision in 2027, for example, based on what you're going to tell them today? And the unfortunate thing is that if you have told them something in the past that has not come to be, they know you. And so the likelihood of them choosing you based on what you've said to them before then is reducing. So there is really no advantage to this thing. It doesn't color you any better. It doesn't give you any base points.
But that's the question then.
Do they understand the psychology of the people that they're lying to? Because if
Yes.
they did, they wouldn't lie.
And also, are they lying to the people, and the people have come to a realization? Come to means they were not always aware of that realization. But when they are lied to, or when they were lied to, did they reject the lies? Or are we going to say at that point in time they didn't know they were lies, so they couldn't reject them? But now, having gone full circle and seen what was being said not to have come true, so they now take this to be lies. Again, it points to, then what sort of people are these? Are they gullible, or are they just trusting? What is it?
Are Kenyans too trusting, or are Kenyans just anything that comes, they'll believe it?
I'll say we have moved from a trusting point. We are at a point whereby we are able to challenge things. But we are still not able to do much because of now the control from the top. And when I mean control from the top, I mean when we have leaders who lie, they will use all the resources to make sure that these particular people who want to stand for the truth are actually controlled. So we'll talk about the media, the media will be controlled in one way or the other. We'll talk about, you want to talk, but then there is that emotional kind of gaslighting whereby if you love your country, Muga, you should not be doing 1, 2, 3. So
Are we saying that I'm incapable of figuring out that I don't have to love my country? I don't have to act in a particular way. That I could act in a complete opposite way and I still love my country? Because if gaslighting is as effective as you say, again, we are being rendered to be either exceedingly gullible. In fact, this one I've forgotten about the trusting. It's now gullibility. Because surely, why is it that even children, I'm talking about toddlers, I'm talking about, there are certain things which when you want them to do, they resist. Children, toddlers can barely speak or can't just mumble, or they're speaking,
Something.
but the speech is mumbling. They haven't learned to articulate things that we do. They resist. It's what they don't want. This not wanting and being able to present yourself in a manner that communicates clearly you don't want it, it's something you're able to do from the time you're born.
For example, I'll give you a good example, a recent example, Mulga, whereby the youths have been treated to a point of, they have been speaking. They have been out there, Gen Zs and what have you, talking about all the ills or, going on and what have you. But now the other day, someone just said that when we see people speaking and when we see people doing the online, revolutions and what have you, these people are mentally sick. These people have taken alcohol, they have taken drugs, and that is why they're actually speaking. So tomorrow, if actually these particular youths continue, then they will all will the society say. And remember, we talk about the norms of the society.
So someone makes an utterance and suddenly we're treating it as the truth. How? Somebody uttered something.
According to what he thought.
According to what he thought. How does that translate into it being the truth?
But they have the power. That is why people who lie when they are in power actually can. Manipulation, influence comes with power. So if at all I don't have the power and I'm lying to you, my concept will not go even far. But if I have the power, the position, and I tell you something that is not even factual, people are more likely to buy it.
Okay, so is this what we're saying? Because essentially we're looking at the psychology of all of this today.
Yeah.
So somebody stands on a podium today, according to what you're saying, Arthur, somebody stands on a podium today and says, the reason why people are up in arms today and speaking out their minds in the way in which they are is because they are mentally challenged, that there's an element of mental health that is missing. And because he is in a position of power to say something like that, it is then the truth?
The truth of the matter, because I'm a psychologist, will ask, what is mental health? What is a mental illness? How does it manifest?
Well, when somebody tells somebody has mental health issues, that means that, not all the knobs are on, right? Essentially, that's what we're saying. So for somebody to say, because this is the thing, for people to stand up today and say Ruto must go, for people to say that they are frustrated with the status quo, for people to say that they are frustrated with the position of governance and leadership in this country today, for people to say something like that, that is an outward expression of an internal frustration. That is the case.
True.
It is an outward expression of even external frustration, things that they can see around them which they're not happy with.
Exactly.
That they can say that there's an element of this leadership that they are not comfortable with, and they are speaking their truth. Now, when you come and say that these people have mental health issues, essentially what you are saying is that there's something wrong. There's an imbalance that is occurring.
There's something that needs sorting out.
There's something that needs sorting out.
Exactly. And
now,
how
what you're saying, Arthur, is that because the person who makes this expression is in a position of power, then what they're saying then is true. But we can't look at the converse, where it is that people are actually frustrated with what they see, frustrated with the economy, frustrated with leadership and governance, frustrated with systems that don't work, and they express that.
Because they will like to deviate from the facts. They will like to give you something that is not real. Because when you say when you look at the facts of a mentally ill person, we're not just narrowing down to someone who is just making noise. We're not just looking at someone who is just vocal or just saying that the government is not doing 1, 2, 3. But when now you bring the concept of a mental illness, and we know that mental illness is quite sensitive. When now you bring it to the public and you say that these people are making noise because they are mentally ill, you do know what you're doing to that particular person. You're injuring their emotions. You're injuring their confidence.
Someone calls me a fool. that they have expressed what they have deduced me to be. My belief would be probably contrary to what they've told me. How would what they say bother me? Because that is all they have done. They have looked, they have decided, they've determined, and this is what they've quantified me, and this is what they say I am. And I think completely differently. But the things that you say, where I see an interesting nexus is here. When the idea that the government is not fulfilling its promises, because you can see, it's not something you need to be told very much. You heard it, you can see it, you experience it. Something else happens. Everything and anything that cannot be blamed on the government is blamed on the government. You then get a focal point for all your problems. It's under human condition. We like to find people whom we can blame for problems which are actually ours. So in this case, is it the politician's problem that I'm listening to them? Is it the politician's problem that I am believing them? Takes me back to the question I asked you before. Are we trusting or are we gullible?
A very important concept. A very important concept. Are we trusting or are we gullible? It's a mixture of both. For me, I'll say it's a mixture of both. It's a mixture of trusting. At some point, I'll say a particular percentage probably is trusting or over trusting, and at some point we are getting gullible. And we are exposing ourselves to these people. Yeah.
You see, I don't think there's anything wrong, personally, with being gullible. Not really. It is right to expect that the leaders you have elected will do good by you. It is correct, and you should expect them to do good by you.
True.
So, if trust is broken, and you have again witnessed it and you have experienced it, you then look at this whole issue under the person who made the promise differently. Because if you have a problem that emanates from a promise not being fulfilled, then you will blame that person directly and say, this is the person who's causing my problem. And if you give it time, it becomes a mantra that everybody is chanting. The question we ask in this studio all the time is, does the general public consider what their role is? Because it seems to be their role is to trust the government.
And you take anything that
comes, yes. Or if that doesn't happen, then their role changes to now blaming the government. Really.
And that is true. And that is true, because when you look at probably how should we end this particular deception, the public deception, the public needs to know their role. The publics need to, be grounded to a point of, yes, you tell me that I am a fool, but I know, you that is your own perception. That is your own opinion. But for me, what I believe and what I'm doing is this. So Muga will still go back to the point of gaslighting, because the moment you break my trust and I come to you and I tell you that this is what you have done, these are the facts and what have you, but you end up giving me a different kind of story. You end up now making me to view myself as the one who is actually not interpreting the situation for what it is. Then you're gaslighting me. If at all you gaslighting me to a point of now, let me just believe it because you have said it. At that particular moment now, again, we lose our responsibilities as the public.
So essentially, I mean, obviously, all we look at all of this from, a psychological point of view and say that this is exactly what's happening. This is a position. I mean, thinking about why would somebody put themselves in a position to lie? We've talked about self-preservation. We've talked about seeing a ground shift and being then wanting to be able to stay in a particular position. Being aware of what that individual may be doing probably is the counter to that. And I don't know, then with that awareness, what does that come with? When you have that awareness of what exactly is happening when somebody is telling you something that you probably know is not the truth, how do you deal with that?
First of all, is going direct. Going direct to this person. Putting it the way it is. Like you're lying. You say as it is, without even leaving any information. Because the moment you don't stand, the moment you're not assertive, that is the time that you're now giving this particular person an opportunity to continue manipulating you. Then we learn to draw boundaries. We learn to say that enough is enough. This is the point that you can come in, and this is where now we are not doing it anymore. And let us treat, even the leaders as people, as people who are we are in a relationship with.
Yeah.
For example, my friends and what have you, because these are the people who will influence so many things in our lives. And the way you draw the boundaries with your friends is the same way we should draw boundaries with the politician, whereby you have lied too much. Why should I come to your public rallies? Why should I continue listening to you?
Those are the questions.
Asante.
And
it's
I know.
a pity the time is up, but why do we accept even the little lies?
Even the little ones you shouldn't accept, and that's why it looks as though you can accept the big ones.
Yes.
It sounds like a philosophical conversation, but these are the things that we're going through every day and having to hear, and then what we do with them is very important. So we want to thank you for joining us this morning. Arthur Gishuru is a psychologist and founder of Sereni Minds and has been with us this hour. A lot of stuff to think about, whether it's on the top level or even deeper. Good morning. It's 8 a.m. 8 a.m.